Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mrs. Gallagher, and today we're going to discuss the transformation rotations. So, a rotation is turning a figure about a fixed point. So, rotation's a turn. And how can we turn objects? Two ways, clockwise and counterclockwise. So, we turn a rotation clockwise and counterclockwise. After a rotation has been performed, is the image going to be similar or congruent? For a rotation, it's going to be congruent because it's going to be the same size and same shape. So it's congruent because it's going to be the same size and the same shape. So let's look at our rotation rules. Our first one, to rotate a figure 90 degrees clockwise. First step, you're going to switch the coordinates and multiply the new second coordinate by -1. So let's look at A. We have 2, 5, and we want to find A prime in a 90-degree clockwise. So what you're going to do here, you have 2, 5, you're going to switch the coordinates, so you're going to flip them to 5, 2, and then you're going to multiply the new second coordinate by -1. So positive times a negative is a negative. So your coordinate would be 5, -2. Okay, next is B prime. So our B is -5, 2. So your first step is to switch the coordinates. So you have 2, -5. And then you're going to multiply the new second coordinate by -1. So we have a -5 times a -1 gives us a +5. So you'll have a +5. So your coordinate would be 2, 5 for B prime. And now C is 5, -2. So our C prime, we're going to switch our coordinates. So it'll be -2, +5. And then again, you're going to multiply your new second coordinate by -1. So it's -2, -5. And that is your rule for a 90-degree clockwise rotation. Let's look at our next two rotation rules. So to rotate a figure 90 degrees counterclockwise, we're going to switch the coordinates again and multiply the new first coordinate by -1. So you're going to multiply your first new coordinate by -1. All right, so again, we have A is 2, 5. We want to find A prime after a 90-degree counterclockwise. So again, you're going to switch your coordinates. So 2, 5 becomes 5, 2. And you're going to multiply your new first coordinate by -1. So 5 times a -1 is -5. Okay, next is B is -5, 2. So B prime. Again, switch your coordinates. So it'd be 2, -5. And multiply your first new coordinate by -1. So that becomes a -2. And then our last one is C, which is 5, -2. So C prime. We want to switch our coordinates, which would be -2 and 5. And multiply your first new coordinate by a -1. So negative times a negative is a positive. So it become a +2, 5. And that's our rule for a 90-degree counterclockwise. Our next one is to rotate a figure 180 degrees. So when this happens, we're going to multiply both coordinates by -1. So we multiply both coordinates by -1. Okay, so let's look at A, 2, 5. If I multiplied both coordinates by -1, it would be -2, -5. Because a negative times a positive is a negative. Okay, next, B, -5, 2. So B prime, you're going to multiply each coordinate by -1. So a negative times a negative is a positive, and a positive times a negative is a negative. So B prime is 5, negative 2. And our last one is C, 5, negative 2. C prime will give you negative 5, positive 2. Okay, you just make it the opposite sign. Okay, so let's do an example together. So in number 1, it says triangle ABC is labeled on the graph below. We want to rotate ABC 90-degree clockwise and label the triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Well, first thing we want to do is identify our original coordinates. So our A value, the original A value, is 1, 4. Our B value is 5, 2. And then our C value is 2, 0. Okay, so in number 1, we want to rotate it ABC 90-degree clockwise and label a triangle A, B, C prime. Graph the figure. So let's first find our coordinates. Now I find it the easiest is to find your coordinates first and then graph them. All right, so 90-degree clockwise, we're going to switch and multiply the second coordinate by negative 1. So A prime, when we switch it, multiply the second coordinate by negative 1. B prime, switch it, which is 2, 5. Second coordinate by negative 1. And C prime, switch it, 0, 2. And our coordinate, second coordinate by negative 1. All right, so let's graph that. Let's graph those coordinates because it tells us to graph the figure. So we have 4, negative 1 as A prime. So as you can see, I graphed the figure A prime 4, negative 1, B prime 2, negative 5, and C prime 0, negative 2. So now let's look at part B. Rotate triangle ABC 180 degrees counterclockwise and label triangle A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. Graph the figure. First thing you always want to do is identify your new coordinates after the 180 degree rotation. And we're doing double prime, and double prime. So for 180 degrees, you multiply each coordinate by a negative 1. You always want to start with the original coordinates. We're starting with the original. So 1, 4 becomes a negative 1, negative 4. 5, 2, multiply both by negative 1, becomes negative 5, negative 2. And then C double prime becomes negative 2 and 0. Okay, so now let's graph those coordinates. So A double prime, negative 1, negative 4. B double prime is negative 5, negative 2. And C double prime is negative 2, 0. And let's connect that. So now let's look at part C. We want to rotate triangle ABC 90 degree counterclockwise, and we're going to label the triangle A triple prime, B triple prime, and C triple prime, and then graph the figure. So our first step, let's identify our coordinates. We're going to identify our coordinates. So we have A triple prime, B triple prime, and C triple prime. And our first step here, we want to switch our original coordinates. So we're going to flip them, the 4, 1. And then you're going to multiply the first new coordinate by a negative 1. So A triple prime is negative 4, 1. Then we have B triple prime. We're going to flip our coordinates and multiply our first new coordinate by negative 1. So we have negative 2, 5. And then lastly is C triple prime. Flip our coordinates and multiply the first new coordinate by negative 1, a negative 1 times 0 is 0. So now we're going to graph our figure. So as you see here, I graphed my 3 coordinates, A, B, and C, and I'm going to create my triangle, and I now have my figure for A triple prime, B triple prime, and C triple prime. Now, if you notice here, a rotation is a turn. You are turning it. So if you notice in the triangle here, we turned our triangle like we pushed it. It was a swing. And that's what the picture should look like when you are graphing a rotation. It should look like a turn. So now I'd like you to do is the you try section. I would like you to complete A, B, and C, and we will discuss it in class. I suggest you write your original coordinates and then write your rotated coordinates before you graph each image. Thank you.